What is up, YouTube? It is your boy Weeb here, and I hope you guys are having an absolutely amazing day today so far. Now, for today's video, I actually have an OBS settings video. I've been getting a lot of questions on what settings I use to make my stream look so crisp and clear, as well as my offline recorded gameplay. So I figured I'd make a little video just to kind of show you guys what I've learned in the last 18 months and some tips and tricks that you may not know that could help or benefit you later on down the road. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into that. First thing we're gonna do is jump over into our settings. Now this first tab, the general tab, the only thing people really generally worry about is their theme. Me personally, I like the Yami theme, but a lot of people have some weird hatred for it and like to run dark instead. But me personally, I like Yami, so I don't touch it. And to start with, we are going to go into recording settings. So you can set, your recording path where your files save. I use my G drive because that's my 4 terabyte hard drive. And I also record in .mkv because if you record in .mkv and something happens, like say there's a power surge or, OBS just crashes for whatever reason, then when you go back into that video file is going to play all the way up until where OBS crashed. Now, if you try to record in .mp4, like a lot of people do, and you have the same scenario, PC dies, power goes out, OBS crashes, whatever, so on and so forth. That .mp4 file is now corrupted and cannot be used. You won't be able to open it. You won't be able to see it. And if you've been playing for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, all that gameplay is gone. So I highly recommend recording a .mkv. And then you can do this little trick right here. If your editing program doesn't accept .mkv files, you go right here into your file, click Remux Recordings. And then right here, you're going to click the, the .mkv file. And then on your target path over here, it'll default to where that .mkv was, but you can set it, wherever if you have a different output for, videos that you need to edit. And then you click Remux right here and a little bar will come up. And when that bar hits 100%, that video is converted from .mkv to .mp4 with very little quality loss. So preserving as much of that lossless .mkv as possible. And trust me, if you run my settings, if you have a PC that can handle it, then it's going to look near lossless. I promise you. I will kind of touch on other settings for, PCs that are a little bit lower end. But before we get into that, let's see. Encoder is going to be the NVENC HEVC. I don't know what you guys do on AMD cards. I don't have AMD. I've never run Intel or AMD. As far as CPUs, GPUs goes, I'm an NVIDIA and Ryzen guy till I die. But I know when you record, you want to use the NVENC HEVC encoder. It's their newest encoder. It supports HDR. So if you like to play in HDR when you're not streaming to Twitch, then you can go in here to your encoder and you can actually run the HEVC encoder, and it will capture that HDR gameplay. There's a couple of settings that you need to change, which I will show you. But it's amazing. It looks fantastic, I promise. Now for rate control down here, you want to run either CQP or CBR. If you run CBR, I recommend at least 100,000 kilobits per second. But you can go up to 200,000 if your GPU can handle it. And if you have a 30 series GPU, then I assure you it can probably handle it. 200,000 is near lossless quality with a little bit lower file size. But me personally, I like the quality of CQP. I set it to 14. Now, if you have a lower end GPU or you're concerned about file size, like my PC has 10 terabytes of file size, 10 terabytes of storage, so I'm not worried about file size. So I record in CQP 14 for near lossless quality, but I do end up with chunkier files. Now, if you're worried about file size, you can set it down to 17. You can set it down to, well, it's making me do that, but you can set it down to 17 and it'll be a minor quality difference while netting you, a lot more room to play with on your file size. Now, if you don't have a 30 series GPU and you still want to run CQP, I recommend setting it to 20. This is going to get you the best bang for your buck as far as quality and file size goes on a GPU below the 30 series. But if you have a 30 series or higher, I recommend at least doing 17, 14 if you have the file size or the file storage to support that. Trust me, it looks amazing. Keyframe interval is going to be 2 seconds. For your preset, I recommend doing at least P5. If you are on a 20 series or below, definitely recommend P5 or lower. But if you are on a 30 series, you can actually go up, and definitely on a 40 series, you can go up and you can run P6 or P7 fairly easily. I record on P7 with tuning on high quality and 2-pass quarter resolution for the absolute greatest settings. But again, if you're concerned about file size and not as concerned about, having lossless quality like I am, then you can go and you can set this to 17, 2 seconds. You can run P5 high quality and then single pass right here, and you'll still have a very good looking recording. But it won't be near lossless like what I generally record. But then again, I recorded a 4-hour Phasmophobia stream the other day, and it was 138 gigabytes. So that'll tell you about how much I use in terms of file storage on CQP 14 with these settings. Your profile is going to be main 10. You don't have to turn look ahead on. Put psycho visual tuning on and max B frames to 2. Let's see. And as far as audio goes, when you're recording, you can actually set the audio up higher if you like to 320. I don't ever bother with it really because there's not much of a difference. I generally leave it on 160 because if I recall, that's the max you can do on YouTube anyways. And that's what I stream to. So I don't ever want to come in here and just have to, repeatedly change audio settings. So I just leave it on 160. That should be it as far as recording goes. Now, if you are in HDR, you're going to go in here to advanced, and your color format will normally, I believe, be on NV12, if I recall. But for HDR, you're going to change that to P010. And then color space is going to be rec.2100 PQ. Leave color range unlimited. Don't mess with the SDR or the HDR levels. That's something you only mess with if you really know what you're doing. Again, that is P010. Should be third from the bottom, and you're going to run rec 2100 PQ. That will get you HDR recording. But you also are going to need to go in here and like I use game capture. You have to go in here to your color spacing and make sure you change it from sRGB to rec.2100 PQ. And that will allow you to record in HDR. If you're recording in just SDR, you don't need to worry about any of that. You can leave the colors the way it is, and you can leave it on sRGB on your capture. Anyways, so let's see. That should be it for recording. Let me double check. And if it is, we're going to move straight into Twitch. Obviously for video, it's going to be, your base canvas. You're recording, so you don't have to down convert. So if you play in 1440p and you want to record in 1440p, I highly recommend doing it since you're recording offline anyways. It looks 10 times better. But you can, if you're going to down convert, you can switch to 1080p or whatever you're trying to down convert to. And then downscale, you want to use Lanczos. But personally, I recommend if you're recording offline, just record in whatever your resolution is. Because if your resolution's higher than what you can stream to on Twitch, then the game's just going to look even better anyways, and you're recording it to upload to YouTube anyway, so it makes sense to just record it in the best possible quality for when you upload. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So now we are going to jump into Twitch settings. Let's see. I have my very handy profile up here so that I can just change between settings very easily. All right, let's open settings back up here. Now, obviously, same thing applies to general. Now, for stream, you're going to want to obviously make sure Twitch is selected. You can use either your stream key or I highly recommend just logging in, connect your account. It's much easier, much better. I don't recommend using, your stream key. I recommend just straight up connecting it. Gives you a lot more control. Now, for output, let's see. You are streaming, so let's see. We're going to do... I recommend turning on Twitch VOD track, especially if you like to run music while you stream. If you run the Twitch VOD track, this is a little well-known secret. You can set it to 2, and then when I'll show you after I'm done with all the settings, but you can go into whatever your music source is, go into advanced, and you can set it to where it does not record or does not save to that VOD track number 2 right here. And then you'll be able to play copyright music while you're streaming, and it won't save to your VOD, which almost mitigates the chances of you getting a DMCA strike, a copyright strike. Obviously, we all hate those. Nobody wants one. But I don't know per se the legalities of it. I know most people do it, but live strikes very rarely happen, and I think that's for a reason. I think they're more concerned about movies and things of that nature. So I personally, I mean, I like to listen to music while I stream. I like to play music while I stream, so I always kept Twitch VOD track set to 2 and just kind of played whatever. And I never ran into any issues in the year and a half I was on Twitch. Now for your encoder, you're going to run the NVENC H.264. Obviously, if you aren't on NVIDIA, then I believe that you run the X264, which uses your CPU. But for NVIDIA graphics cards, you're going to run the NVENC H.264. Don't do the rescale output because you're going to do all that in your video tab. So if you're affiliate or below, which I assume you are if you're watching this video, because if you're a partner, you already know what you're doing. Then I recommend streaming in 720p. And for 720p, you're going to do CBR, 2000 kilobits per second. You can go up to about 2500, but I found the best was about 2000. If I went any higher than that, I experienced a lot of crashes due to encoder errors that I only got on Twitch. And I also noticed a lot of like quality issues. 2000, I wasn't getting any pixelation playing Warzone in 720p, which, as you know, is a high action game. So I just ended up sticking with 2000 for my last couple months that I was on Twitch. Keyframe interval again is going to be 2. I kept my preset on P6, but you can do P6 or P5 if you have a 30 series or above. I don't recommend doing P7 when you're live streaming to Twitch just for reasons. I never had any good experiences doing it. P6 and P5 is where I found my best luck. Multi-pass mode is going to be single pass. Profile is high. Psycho-visual tuning checked. And then max B frames is 2. Again, audio is 160. Let's see. And then audio, obviously, you're going to make sure all your audio channels are set correctly. I'll go over this here in a little bit. But then, you got your base canvas resolution, which is, this big black screen behind you. That's what you're playing in. And then your output scaled resolution. If you're streaming, if you're an affiliate or below, I highly recommend doing 720p. Highly recommend doing 720p. If you do 1080p, you're not going to have a high enough bit rate. Even partners don't really have a high enough bit rate. That's why you see a lot of partners streaming in, like, I think 936p. I think 936 is one I have to, I have to manually type it in. But that's why you see a lot of partners streaming in 936p on high action games, because you don't actually have a high enough bit rate on Twitch to support 1080p 60. So the easiest way to mitigate, screen stretching or pixelation or whatever is to drop down to 936 and run at the maximum bit rate you're allowed as a partner, which I believe is 8500. For a good 1080p 60 stream, you want 9000 and 9500. And partners are capped at 8500. Affiliates are capped at 6000. You do the math, So I highly recommend doing 720p. You can crank the bitrate up a little bit if you want to try and get better results. But again, I got a bunch of encoder crashes trying to do that. So I recommend starting at 720 and 2000. And then if you want to work your way up, you can try working your way up. If you do, let me know in the comments what worked for you. Could have just been, a GPU issue on my part. I have a 3080, but, parts are kind of unique to the holder. No two chips are the same. So maybe I just had issues with my GPU. Who knows? So let me know in the comments if something else worked for you. And then let's see. Yeah, NV12 for your color format. Rec 709 color spacing. Full color range. You don't need to worry about SDR, HDR. Yeah. Let's see. That is it for the Twitch. Now, what I was talking about earlier with the Twitch VOD track, you click Advanced Audio Properties right here. Music is where my music tracks play. And then I can go in here and I can find music. And I just check this little box right here. I check box 2 because that's my Twitch VOD track. And with it, when it's unchecked like this, it won't save to the VOD. So I can be streaming and they'll hear it on my stream, but they won't hear it when they go back and rewatch the VOD later. So it doesn't save, which saves you the hassle of getting a DMCA strike for recording and saving and uploading copyrighted music to the internet. So very helpful if you're trying to play just whatever music you want while you're on stream. Again, I don't know the legalities, you know, the full legalities behind it. I just know everyone does it. We all do it. Does that make it right? Who knows? So take that with a grain of salt. Do as you will. You know, don't come yell at me because you were the 1 in a million that, you know, got a live DMCA strike. Okay, so for good YouTube SDR, you're going to be using the NVIDIA NVENC H.264 encoder. There is no Twitch VOD track secret tip thing that lets you use copywritten music on YouTube. Don't do it. It's trap. You're going to get a copyright claim. You're going to get copyright strike. You know, you're going to get shut down. Don't do it. It's a trap. So for encoder settings, we're going to run CBR 24,000 kilobits per second. Now, if you're streaming in 1080p 60, you can drop this down. I would say probably like 10.5. Like recommended for a good quality 1080p 60 stream is 9,500. So I recommend going a little bit above that just to give yourself some, you know, some insurance space. I'll talk a little bit more about bit rates later and internet connection. But if you have the internet to support it, I highly recommend doing a little bit over what max recommended is. So like if max recommended is 22,000, then do 24,000. If max recommends 9,500, do like 10.5, maybe 11, 12. Whatever your computer and internet will support, I recommend doing that. All it will do is make it even more crystal clear because this is the amount of data that is sent with your internet connection every passing second. The more data, the better the picture. So keyframe interval is going to be 2 seconds, P6 for better quality. Or if you have a lower quality machine, lower tier, I guess, P5. But you should be fine on P6 if you're running like a Ryzen 7 and above and a 3080, 3070 maybe. And anything above that, obviously. But I definitely recommend, if you can afford to, then do this P6. It just looks outstanding. Tuning is high quality, multi-pass mode, single pass, profile is high, psycho-visual tuning checked, GPU 0, and max B frames is 2. Now we're going to go down here to video, and obviously your base canvas resolution right here, whatever you're recording in. For me, it's 1440. If you got 1080p, just 1080. Whatever you're outscaling it to, if you're downscaling, like say 1080p, then make sure you use Lanczos. Makes it look crisp, sharp, clear. You would not believe the amount of people who use bicubic. I don't know why, but they use bicubic. If you can use Lanczos and it doesn't, you know, your machine can handle, you know, all of this, which it should be able to if you're looking at this YouTube section. I'm sure you have a machine capable. So use Lanczos. But also I will say if you're playing 1440p and you're streaming it to YouTube, you may as well just go ahead and stream 1440 if you have the internet to handle it. I'm pretty sure most machines these days can handle it, especially if you're on a 30 series card. So I highly recommend just at least giving it a try, and if it doesn't work for you, then consider going down to 1080p. But I recommend trying 1440 at least. We go down here to advanced. Color format is NV12. Color spacing, Rec 709. Color range full, and then you're not messing with the SDR, HDR levels. So now we're gonna get into the HDR settings. Now this is my actual settings. This is what I use currently. So obviously I use Yami. You're gonna connect your account, and then so this YouTube HLS. You don't see this unless you click Show All, and you go all the way down, and boom, there it is, right above RTMPS. So I believe this was introduced with OBS 28. Could have been 27, but I'm 90% sure it was OBS 28. This is the service that allows you to stream in HDR. So we're going to go here to output. Again, there's no VOD trick, secret trap thing that lets you, you know, use copyrighted music. Don't do it. Encoder is NVENC HEVC. If you'll notice, we have an extra encoder that we did not have before. This is the same encoder that we use to record. Except with the HLS service, we are able to use it to upload for our stream. So for rate control, CBR, bitrate's going to be 30,000 kilobits per second. 30,000. This is if you are streaming in 1440p 60 and you want it HDR. You will need to stream 30,000 kilobits per second. This is what is high. This is what's recommended. This is what my internet can handle. But it looks great. It's worth it. If your internet can support it, if your machine can support it, it looks outstanding. I highly recommend doing it because it looks phenomenal. And I haven't had any complaints or issues in terms of people saying, hey, my stuff buffers indefinitely. And I've had people watch it on like 5 megabits per second download speed out in the boonies on what's it called? Old DSL internet. So highly recommend you at least try it. People in third world countries may have an issue, but if you're small and obscure, you're probably not being watched by people out in the boonies, you know. So highly recommend giving 30,000 kilobits per second a try. The HDR quality is just outstanding, man. It looks so good. Keyframe interval is 2 seconds. Preset's going to be, again, P6. If you're on a lower quality machine, then P5. But if you have a 30 series GPU, you should be able to run P6. Let's see. Tuning is going to be high quality. Multi-pass mode will be single pass. And now for profile, this one you did not see before. This is main 10. This is what we have to use for HDR quality video recording or streams. This is it has to do with HDR using 10-bit color instead of 8-bit. If you are using main, it is not going to be HDR. It's not going to come out right. You need to use main 10. And then we get down to GPU. It's 0. Max B frames is 2. Video, again, I do 1440 outscaled. If you have to do 1080p, use Lanczos. For a 1080p HDR stream, I recommend using at least 15,000 kilobits per second. It'll just look crisp and clear, and it looks amazing. You can drop it down to, like, I want to say 12.5, but 15,000 would just look insane. It looks crazy. Trust me on that one. Let's see. Put that back. All right. Set this back. And then for advanced, again, it's P010, Rec 2100, color range is limited, SDR 450, HDR 1000, and that is going to be it for the HDR settings, guys. So I hope that gives you a little bit of knowledge. We go down here to our game capture, whatever we're using to capture the game, and you're going to go down to color spacing, and you're going to set it to Rec 2100 PQ. That way you get that HDR capture. Let's see. So that is everything on the settings. Let me talk to you a little bit about bitrate real quick. Because I know the only thing I've really mentioned is that Twitch caps you at 6,000 and 8,500. So your bitrate is your internet. It's basically how much of your internet speed you're using at once. So 20,000 kilobits per second means that I'm using 22 megabytes per second up of my internet speed. I have 50 megabytes down. I'm using 22 of that strictly to upload my stream at any given second. So obviously you need to have the up speed to support whatever it is you're trying to stream. But YouTube allows you to go all the way up to 4K 60 at 51,000 kilobits per second, if I recall. So I mean, if you got the internet and the PC capable of doing that, then by all means, whatever you're doing, go for it. But I personally like to play in 1440p and I stream in 1440p. So these are the settings that I use to do that. I have the internet speed that supports this. You can find a calculator and, do, bitrate calculator. You can find out what's best for your internet speed and what quality you're streaming at. But just good rule of thumb, you don't want your stream to use more than half of what your upload speed is. So if you've got 20 megabytes per second down, or megabits, whatever the fuck it is, then honestly, you don't want to go over 10,000 kilobits per second. So, let's see. So me, realistically, since mine's it's more like 60 megabits per second up, I could realistically go up to about 30,000. But I keep it at 22,000. That's where I have the best results, and I don't get any kind of encoder lag from it trying to encode too fast for the resolution. A little tip here: if you are recording in .mkv and you don't really stream, you just record in .mkv, you can sit here and you can have your files, like if say you need them in .mp4, you can't use .mkv, then you can have them set to automatically remux to .mp4. My editor is able to use .mkv, so I don't bother with it. But if you're someone who has to edit in .mp4, you can go in here to advanced, go down to recording and click automatically remix to .mp4. And the second you hit stop recording, that little bar is going to come up and it's going to automatically remix it to .mp4. That way you don't have to worry about doing it manually. You know, maybe you forget and you realize it when you go to edit and you're like, shit, you know, and now you got to stop to go back and remix it, which obviously doesn't take very long, but it's still a pain in the ass to have to go back and do something that, you know, you thought you were already done with. For the audio stuff, obviously, desktop audio is going to be your desktop audio. For me, it's my system on my Go XLR. Desktop audio 2 for me is music. I also keep browser volume attached to that. And then your chat mic. You can add more mic sources if you have more mics. I only have the one mic, so I just chat mic right there. Good to go. And then when I'm in my game, I throw in an additional audio device, which is my comms chat. And this way, when I'm on my talking screen or my intro screen, nobody can hear, you know, what the people are saying in game chat or the pregame lobby or whatever, unless I want them to. So it keeps my Discord, my game chat, all that stuff separate from, you know, my just chatting with the stream or whatever. You can throw it on your other scenes if you like. Me personally, I like to have that little one-on-one time with my my stream. So generally what I'll do is I'll even turn down, I'll take my voice chat slider and I'll even turn that down so I don't have to hear them as much, and I'll mute my in-game mic with my little hotkey. But that should cover it. Let's see, let me confirm. For those of you who didn't realize, you can have, you go up here to profile and you can make profiles so that you can sit here and just easily switch between different streaming and recording settings. That way you don't have to worry about, you know, going back and forth changing stuff to fit, you know, whatever you're going to do. It's very convenient. You can do the same thing with your scene collection. You can have different scenes saved for different channels, or, you know, different games. Like if I use different scenes for, you know, I don't even know Apex. If I use different scenes for Apex, I could have like Apex streams, you know, and then Warzone streams and so on and so forth. So a very handy feature that a lot of people don't know about, unless you just easily swap back and forth between different settings. And if you have, like, say, multiple people using one computer, say, you know, you live with your girlfriend's a streamer too. She streams while you're at work, you stream while she's at work. Then you can set up your profile, she can set up her profile, and there's not a whole bunch of chaos of, you know, unlinking, relinking, changing settings every time you have to go back into OBS, or, you know, having to worry about, okay, I'm going to use Streamlabs, you use OBS. You can just have it all right here in your profile, saved in your profile. And then you can save your scenes, you know, boyfriend scenes, girlfriend scenes, boyfriend settings, girlfriend settings, so on and so forth. OBS is very handy, and OBS with its newest update is very, very nice. It's gotten very clean since about version 28 when I switched back over to it. And I believe version 28 is also, it's either 27 or 28, is the one that introduced HDR streaming, which is absolutely phenomenal. Gameplay looks amazing now. It's incomparable, man. It's incomparable. If you have the internet and the system settings to be able to run 1440p HDR, I highly recommend it. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know down below if you learned something, if any of these settings helped you out, or just anything that I may have missed that I forgot to mention that you think would be good for somebody to know. But as always, don't forget that like and that subscribe, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace.